Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream. Trying to redo my intros. I don't know, make it a little more professional or something. Hope everything's going well out there in the world. It is Tuesday, I believe, isn't it? Yep, Tuesday, May 30th. Where did the month of May go? Welcome. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're glad that you found us. Tell everyone you know that we exist. It's very important. We've got over 1.4 million members in our group right now. You may have seen our petition at change.org/cancel student loans. You may have seen us on 60 Minutes or in the New York Times or many other places. So I'm going to get right into it, guys. A couple of announcements I need to make first. If you happen to live in Arizona, in Georgia, or in Washington, D.C., and you want to be interviewed, there are news organizations in all of those places looking to interview people. So if this is you, send me an email. This is about student loans and the Biden loan cancellation gimmick. If you want to be interviewed, send me an email. My email address is Alan, ALAN, at studentloanjustice.org. Second announcement. I need to make a pitch for donations at this time, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to ask, but I have to ask. We need to raise around $920 between now and the end of the week. So if 44, if I think 46 people donate $20, that will get us there. It's going to be a tough week for us this week, guys. That's a ton of money for us. If you can help, please do it. You can see the link right there. And help me to shut up about it. Thank you. So if you have any questions or comments, and if I can see them on Facebook and or Twitter, I'm very happy to read yours aloud. If you're watching us live. If you happen to be a hater, even better. We love going into the lion's den and doing battle with bad guys who oppose student loan cancellation or oppose the return of bankruptcy rights to student loans. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, all sorts of nonsense is breaking in the media right now about how the Republicans have convinced Joe Biden to restart the student loan repayment program as a part of the deal to raise the federal debt limit cap. I don't know why everybody's making so much of a big deal about this, honestly. I mean, the loans were going to be turned back on anyways. There's no longer a COVID emergency for Joe Biden to point to. And they said at the last extension that this would be it. And the Supreme Court case, whichever way it goes, would trigger the resumption of payments, or at the latest, the repayments would begin November 1st. So for whatever reason, the Republicans demanded that happen, and it was already announced that it was going to happen. So now, as before, it's still going to happen. I don't think it'll happen much before November 1st. I think the bigger picture out there, guys, and this is very important. The entire lending system has failed, guys. The entire federal lending program is catastrophically failed. The pandemic was the nail in that coffin. Even before the pandemic, 60% nearly of all borrowers had stopped paying on their loans. That's true. Now that everybody's had 3.5 years of no payments and inflation is sucking more than they were paying out of their monthly budget, people are done. I don't think I would imagine that something like 80%, if not 85% of all borrowers are not going to resume making their payments. So what do you even call that when the overwhelming majority of borrowers are not paying anything back on their loans? Houston, we have a problem. In fact, Houston, call the morgue. This one's done. So this could have a good ending. This could have a bad ending, ladies and gentlemen. We were never impressed with Joe Biden's student loan cancellation gimmick in the first place. $10,000 to $20,000 will not help the worst hurt borrowers. And I guarantee you that the lending people will make back that $10,000 in interest and fees and consolidation fees and all other sorts of creative ways they have to inflate loan balances. So this all comes down to bankruptcy, guys. The most important thing I'll tell you tonight, and I say it every night, probably twice every night, we will not see meaningful student loan cancellation. We will not see even minimally adequate administration of these loans, like the various income-driven repayment programs, like the public service loan forgiveness program, like anything, unless and until we get the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy returned to the loans. We've been doing this for 18 years, ladies and gentlemen. And if we've learned nothing else, we've learned that as long as the leverage of bankruptcy remains gone from the borrowers, and it's been gone for 50 years now almost, but it's been permanently gone for about 25 or so years, I believe, since 1998. As long as that leverage remains gone, we can beg Joe Biden or the next president forever to do nice things, to cancel loans, to forgive loans, whatever. And we'll get the same nonsense that we just saw. We can be begging Joe Biden and the next president forever. And as long as we don't have the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us, whether we would ever or never file, quite frankly, very few people should have to file, maybe even no one. But we've got to get the right of bankruptcy returned, ladies and gentlemen. So the current state of the politics is, the stupid loan cancellation. The Republicans oppose, the Democrats are for it. It's a partisan issue, which makes no sense. And for whatever reason, the Republicans are trying very, very, very hard to stick their finger in the eyeball of student loan borrowers everywhere. And here's the truth about that, guys. This is their base. The Republican base has student loans. 20% of all U.S. adults have student loans. Actually more than that, closer to 24%. Nearly 20%, like 18% of all U.S. adults are underwater on their loans. So they were never going to be able to repay their student loans. And maybe perhaps most importantly, more than half of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. That's true. And if you don't believe me, go to our Medium channel and read the article that we wrote about that. And you can see the Gallup polling data and the Pew Research data for yourself. That is certainly true. And let me just dial in our Medium channel. We're also on Substack, by the way. You can check us out all over the place. So I don't know what your all thoughts are. I know that our members are roughly an even split between Republicans and independents on one side, Democrats on the other side. So there's a few more Democrats. That's true. But, our group is a very accurate cross-section of the country in general. And so the Republicans are politically, they are absolutely moronic. And that really tells me, because I don't think they're stupid people. I think that there's something else going on behind the scenes that make the Republicans fight so hard to keep this loan scam, and it is a scam, going. And frankly, I think that extends to both sides of the aisle. We've seen in years and decades past Republican congressmen like John Boehner, Mike Enzi, Buck McKeon, and other hardcore, and even more recently, Chuck Grassley of Iowa, essentially go on a war path, a very vicious, bitter attack against the student loan borrowers. And this is not conservative, what they're doing, by the way, because think about it, federal student loans, it's the worst big government lending scam in our nation's history. And it is sucking the life out of states like Iowa, where Chuck Grassley is, like Texas, where Ted Cruz is, California, you name it. So there's nothing that any true conservative should like about this lending system and want to oppose not only cancellation. Quite frankly, if the conservatives were being true to their principles, they'd be calling for an end to the entire lending program. And by the way, that pretty much has to happen, guys. We've never seen a federal lending program. In fact, we've never seen any lending program in the country, private or federal. This failed. Like, the numbers are just overwhelming. Here's one more little factoid. The default rate for 2004 borrowers was 40%. That's huge. That's double the default rate for subprime home mortgages. But ladies and gentlemen, people who left school in 2004 were borrowing less than a third of what's being borrowed today. So for everybody walking around with student loans today, the default rate is going to be, even before the pandemic, it was going to be 50, 60, 70, 75%. Now that COVID put a stop to everything, trying to revive this lending program is basically like, trying to create a zombie or something. It's just not going to happen. But for the lack of political will, the lack of spine, the lack of courage, and the corruption and the greed in Washington, D.C., this lending program would have been canceled many years or decades ago. So yeah, if you're out there sweating bullets over your student loans, the first thing I would tell you is not only are you not alone, but more than 4 out of 5 of everyone with student loans is sweating bullets just like you. Like, how terrible is that? So not only are you not alone, we, distressed, I would say the angry and very justifiably, righteously angry student loan borrowers are the vast majority of all borrowers. And there's no good reason for you to be suffering in silence, for you to be blaming yourself, for you to be thinking what you could have done differently. That's all nonsense, guys. This is a scam, plain and simple. This is an unconstitutional lending scam. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws, by the way, in the Constitution, ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army. This has been taken away uniquely from student loans. This was the trick that, quite frankly, began being played on us by the Congress of 1976 with people like then junior Senator Joe Biden pulling the strings and creating bad legislation. And so here we are today, and I'm sorry to say that it's tragic. It's tragic to see how the people in Washington, D.C., how the banks, people in Wall Street, how I would say the colleges and many other interests have colluded to essentially conquer and enslave student loan borrowers through an unconstitutional loan scam. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to put up with this bullshit, if you didn't notice. And I hope that you will tell everyone you know that we don't have to put up with this shit. We are in the vast majority of all student loan borrowers. And I think the one thing that's been hurting us all these years has been our silence. The signs of a good con are when the people that you con are too ashamed to speak out and admit that they were scammed. Well, I think the federal student loan program has succeeded wildly in that little bit of hustler's art, that little hustler's technique. So I'm going to look for your question. Oh, and by the way, as I said, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We don't like the Democrats. We don't like the Republicans. We don't like either party. And whatever your political stripes may be, you're very welcome on this group. But I should warn you, we will say terrible things about whichever party you may or may not be aligned to, because the finger of blame points to both sides. So right now, the Republicans are, for whatever reason, sticking their thumb in the eye of student loan borrowers everywhere, which includes 20% of their base. And that's just, it makes no sense. It makes no logical sense. But, the Democrats betrayed us in the most vicious and, I would say, brutal way last congressional session. It's been in the Democratic National Committees, it's been in their platform, their party platform, since 2016, that they were going to return bankruptcy rights to student loans. Well, last session, the Democrats had the presidency, they had the Senate, and they had the House. And they had a great bankruptcy bill, both in the Senate and the House, that would have passed with flying colors. Well, at the very last minute, at the very end of the session, the Democrats they decided to not pass this legislation. So the Democrats betrayed us, ladies and gentlemen, and that's maybe much longer discussion for another day. But suffice it to say, guys, you do yourself no favors by allowing yourself to be trapped in this partisan nonsense. You know, this thing that we're bickering about right now, the raising the debt limit as contingent on resuming student loan payments, that's all a bullshit issue, guys. It makes no difference. No matter which way that goes, the loans were going to be turned back on anyways. And, you know, like I said, the largest picture is this, guys. As long as the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy remains gone from us, we're going to be conquered and enslaved, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and those are the words of John Adams. And he said 250 plus years ago, there are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword. The other is by debt. And even Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, 1965, he declared that the student loans that were created in the Higher Education Act of that year would be free of interest. Well, today, $100 billion, more than $100 billion a year, is added onto the nation's student loan debt tab in interest alone. And by the way, the people have paid their loans. Anybody saying that canceling student loans is robbing the taxpayers to pay for your college, that's nonsense. The people have paid. In fact, the large majority, maybe even all of the outstanding federal student loan portfolio at this point is profit. It's profit to the government. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the government makes a profit anywhere on anything. Like, can you name even one area where the government makes a profit? I think you'd be very hard pressed to do that. The government was not set up to make a profit, certainly not off the backs of citizens whose only crime was going to college. And so, yeah, the founding fathers are on our side, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that you won't forget that. So I'm going to look for your comments now. I'm going to keep this live stream rather short, although I'm probably over 20 minutes at this point anyways, but I'm dialing in your comments now. Fear not. And we'll see what we have. You know, we have like 10 people watching at the moment. Hey, Christine Wings with us tonight from Arizona. The government, she says, the government makes a profit on student loans now. Yes, that's very true. As far back as I just said, as far back as 2012, the federal government was booking $50 billion a year in profit on the lending program. And that was when the loan portfolio was maybe half the size that it is today, a little bit less. Yes, at 6% interest at $1.6 trillion outstanding, you do the math. That's $100+ billion a year that is clicking off on our backs in government profit. Ann Cooper's with us. Ann says, I think Americans now owe record credit card debt over $1 trillion. Not sure where any extra money will come from to pay student loans when they can't afford food and are putting that on credit cards. Right, exactly. You know, the inflation that we're living under right now, Ann, is sucking $500 a month out of the average household. The student loan repayment pause was, at least on paper, adding about $400 to people's monthly budget. So the point is that inflation has taken away any benefit that people might have gotten from not having to make payments on their student loans. Now, to turn on these payments again, it's just not going to happen. People are just not going to pay. Student loans essentially are one big national joke at this point. And don't feel bad if you don't ever pay another dollar on your student loans. Quite frankly, I think that is the correct thing for everyone to do. I think if you ever pay another dollar on your, certainly on your federal student loans, I think that's not only unwise, I think it's unpatriotic. And more than that, I would say that you're kind of a chump because you're going to be in the tiny minority of all student loan borrowers. Like, I really don't think even 20% of the borrowers will resume paying. I think it'll be less than that. So let me see if I can see your comments. I'm not always able to see all the comments, guys. Oh, Joanna Kern says, Alan Collins, what is going on with your plans for the SLJ van? Oh, that's a good question, Joanna. And by the way, thanks to everyone who pitched in to replace the SLJ van. I would show you, it's sitting out in the yard right now. It's doing great. I'm going to have to get some new magnets printed up to reflect the new political environment that we're going into. Our travel plans are currently being made. So we definitely want to go to Iowa in the first couple weeks of August. We also want to go to Ohio. We want to go to Texas. I kind of want to do a little West Coast stint and like maybe hit Arizona and California as well. If I could make it up to Washington, that would be great, but we'll have to play that one by ear. We definitely need to go to South Carolina. That's another. Iowa and South Carolina are two very important states politically for the presidential elections that are coming up. So yeah, we don't have any solid plans yet, Joanna, but we are going to be having some trips coming up. I'm going to say we'll probably start hitting the road, maybe earlier, but probably August is my best guess. So. Yeah, I will definitely let you all know our travel plans as they firm up. And by the way, if you have any cool ideas for stuff that we can do in your local area, contact me because we can do whatever we want, guys. I'm open to very good ideas. We've done very cool things in the past, like go to Washington, D.C. and like drag a giant inflatable debt ball from Congress to the Department of Education. We've protested. We've done maybe not hundreds, but we've done many dozens of protests all over the country, from Seattle to Trump Tower in Manhattan to Texas to California. We've never actually protested in California, so maybe that's something we could do. Anyways, there's a lot of good ideas out there. Just let's play it by ear. Remember, we have to fundraise for all this stuff, gas money and hotel and all that stuff. So that's kind of a part of the deal. But if we have good ideas, I hope and pray and believe that the people will fund those kinds of things. So if it's worth doing, I think we'll be able to figure it out. One other quick little response to your point about credit cards, Anne. It was actually this group that originally broke the story in 2009 when when student loan debt surpassed credit card debt. It was us that broke that story in the Wall Street Journal. So we take some credit for that. And I might add, student loan debt has skyrocketed past credit card debt in the ensuing years. So I think credit card debt right now is right around $1 trillion. We're at 1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt alone. There's another 140 plus billion in private student loan debt. I think there's also a lot of federal student loan debt that isn't being reported, interest that isn't being reported on defaulted federal student loans. So I think we're probably inching upwards of $2 trillion in actual fact in student loan debt, both public and private today. Okay, guys, well, I've gone 25 minutes now. I'm trying to cut myself off a little earlier now on these live streams. So I think I'm just going to leave it there at that. But let me just repeat the announcements of earlier. If you live in Arizona, in Maryland or Washington, D.C., or in, what was the third place? I'm totally blanking. Arizona. Oh, Georgia. If you live in or around Atlanta, Georgia, and you want to be interviewed on your student loans, let me know. Send me an email, Allen@studentloanjustice.org. And last, please donate, dudes. We need to raise a lot of money this week, like $900 plus. So we need around 400. We need 45 people to donate $20 or the equivalent. If you like this group, if you like all that we're doing, if you like all that we've done, if you want what we're poised to get done, please support us so we don't disappear and so I can shut up about fundraising, because I hate fundraising and it's difficult. But I think this group is worth it, and I hope you agree. So, okay, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. Hang in there. Good luck. Do our daily actions, by the way. I'm going to dial that in for you before I leave, just so you can remember. bit.ly/SLJ daily action. That's the first best thing that anyone who's new to this group can do. But good luck with that. Godspeed with all your efforts. And God bless everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.